Okay chaps, welcome to this week's Friday Waffle. It's a rather sunny Friday night. I was out, I was off today, obviously being Easter weekend, I was off today. Went out for a run about 3 o'clock and it was just disgusting. In fact, I read a thing on the internet. They reckon it's going to get to -2 over next week. So I think that little bit of sun we had a week ago, I think it was, I think that's probably summer. So yeah, I hope you've all been alright. It's really bizarre. It feels like it's been a while since I've done a Friday Waffle. I know I do them every week, but it just, when I was thinking to myself, I've got to do it tonight, I was thinking, it seems like a long time since I've done one. It was only 7 days ago, so. What have I been up to? I was at the computer club this week. I was, yeah. It's always good. That was on a Tuesday. What did I take along? I took along my Amstrad GX 4000 with a little SD card thing. Really good. I think there's about 600 games now, which a couple of really clever people have converted. Basically, it's Amstrad CPC. Excuse me, I'm burping away there. I've just had my dinner. I've got a big glass of juice here. Some clever guys have converted Amstrad CPC computer games to run on the GX 4000, so it's awesome. I mean, I did own an Amstrad with the colour monitor, but the problem I've got is, if you watched last week's Friday Waffle, you might have seen the little game tour that I gave of this little room, and it is very little. I've got 2 LCD screens in here, and each one has got about 10 or more systems connected to it, and I simply couldn't afford, I've not got any space for a single monitor that can only use one system on, so I reluctantly had to sell the Amstrad, and I was very sort of, I wasn't saddened, but I was disappointed I had to get rid of it. But it sat in a loft, never got used. So that GX 4000 is awesome because it means that I can play all Amstrad games, or at least most of them, on this little box of tricks. So good stuff. At the computer club, was there anything of any note? Let me think. There was a Namibian Amiga, which is a sort of Raspberry Pi running an Amiga. There was a PC Engine. There was a PC Engine with CD, which is really cool. There was a Dreamcast, a Saturn. Talking of which, I mentioned last week in last week's Waffle that most of the games from a Saturn were kind of too big for the screen. They were stretching way too big. I tried the Saturn on 1, 2, 4 different televisions, including a CRT one and also a Commodore monitor. Now I thought it would at least work in that, but it was cut off. And lo and behold, I discovered that the 2 games I'd tested, that both were way stretched. When I tried another NTSC game, it was absolutely fine. So it turns out that the Sega Rally game, that was the worst offender. I mean, there was probably a quarter of the screen was cut off. When I tried the NTSC one, it was absolutely fine. So there was nothing wrong with my TVs as such. There's nothing wrong with the Saturn. It's just the games I was using. So I'll need to acquire myself some NTSC games. But yeah, it was a good turnout at the club again. Wednesday, went to my guitar club. I'd missed it the week before because I wasn't feeling too great. So I was there on Wednesday. And yeah, it's obviously the Easter weekend, off today, off on Monday. What we're planning to do, my wife's working, so I was planning to take my daughter to the Comic Con in Edinburgh tomorrow. So yeah, anyway, where's my... I've got, you know what, before I actually prepared this list, I thought to myself, there's not many questions. My arse, there's not any questions. By the way, I don't normally mention TV shows, but I've just, I watched, I was going to say, I batch watched, what do they call it? When you bulk watched, when you watch loads of the same programme in a kind of, one after another. Anyway, I watched Peter Kay's Car Share, the second series. absolutely fantastic. If you don't like Peter Kay, then avoid it at all costs. But if you do like Peter Kay, you'll love it. I mean, it's basically him. He gives a lift to a girl, and he takes her to work. He's the manager. She works in the same shop, and the whole program is based around him with this girl, and it's absolutely brilliant. It's really, really good. I say, if you like Peter Kay, you'll love it. So there's 4. They're only half an hour each. I mean, there was a first series which you may get on BBC iPlayer, or if not, I'm sure you'll get it in the sort of the normal places online. But yeah, there was 4 episodes for series 2. Each one is half an hour. So yeah, watch that. If you like Peter Kay, go and watch it. So right, what have I got to talk about? Hi. When emulation and modern hardware improves the experience. What do I mean with that? I did an Arcade Perfect My Arse, I think it was this week, for Pang, the arcade game Pang. And somebody, I can't remember who it was, commented saying how, I mean, I featured the Game Boy version, and somebody commented saying how on real hardware the game is absolutely pants, because as we all know, the original Game Boy, the screen, it blurs. The screen blurs when it moves. It just wasn't designed for like scrolling games, or that game doesn't actually scroll, but he says it's quite kind of unplayable on the original hardware. And it kind of got me thinking how, yeah, people going about, emulation, that's rubbish, you want proper hardware. And I'm a huge advocate of original hardware. As much as I love emulating, having the real McCoy can't be beat. But systems like the Game Boy, and probably even like, I'm looking up there because it's up there, Game Gear, Atari Lynx, they had sort of like first generation screens, which wasn't the greatest. But using any of these handhelds, I mean, I've got my Nvidia Shield portable up there. Using any of these, I can play these games in a much, much better experience than you could back in the day. Because if I play a Game Boy game in that, it's backlit, the screen's bigger, there's no blurring, super sharp. So yeah, there are times where modern hardware does actually give you a better experience to play old games. So yeah, that was just something I wanted to touch on. I've mentioned the Sega Saturn update. Right, I'm going to batter on, guys, because I've got an absolute ween of questions. So kicking things off, Doug Scullery. Which early arcade games would you say are forgotten and overlooked classics, and that they deserve more recognition than they get? I would suggest Super Locomotive and Naughty Boy, both from about 1983. Naughty Boy, Doug, can't say I remember that one. Can't even say I've heard of it, to be honest with you. I'll need to check it out. If you're saying it's a forgotten classic, I shall definitely need to have a look at that. What's wrong with me tonight? Super Locomotive. I think I've not played that game, but I believe is it Loco by on the Commodore 64. That was Tony Crowder wrote that. Loco is basically a home conversion of that, and it's quite a good game actually. Which early arcade games would you say are forgotten and overlooked? Blimey. Well, one game that jumps out for me, and it's not a game I've ever looked upon with any degree of fondness until the last couple of years when I started playing it, and that's Berserk. As I mentioned, I just decided I basically picked Berserk at random to play and try and get good at, and through playing it on my MAME cab, I suppose I fell in love with the game. I love the game to bits. I've played it a lot in the MAME cab. I played it at the Play Expo thing at Glasgow. It's a great game, but I think most of these early games are good. If you invest time in one of these games and you start to get a sort of degree of proficiency, then you get more out of it. I mean, there's nothing worse than playing a game, say Defender, you put 10 pence in it, you die within 20 seconds and you'll think that's shit. But it's not necessarily a crap game, it's just because you need to invest time in controls. But Berserk, love it to bits. Again, Terra Cresta, I've mentioned that loads of times. I mean, Terra Cresta's not, I wouldn't say it's not certainly not overlooked, but it's not a game you hear people talking about much. But I love Terra Cresta. Just, I don't know, it's a great shoot 'em up. It's quite easy, you get power-ups. It's kind of got different landscapes and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I'm going to go for Berserk and Terra Cresta. So anyway, listen, Doug, thanks for your question, mate. Ian Hunter, I've played guitar for about 57 years and I'm still shite. I just wondered how far you want to take your lessons. Cheers, Alan. Brilliant. Listen, Ian, thank you very much. I don't know if you've been playing the guitar for 57 years. I don't know what age you started, but I'm guessing you may well be one of my oldest viewers. Not that you're much older than me, that enough. But anyway, yeah, fantastic that you're watching the channel. You're still shite. Well, like I say, there's no hope for me. If you're still shite after 57 years, there's no hope for me. How far do I want to take it? I think it's like a lot of people. I've always wanted to be able to play an instrument, and I've never actually put any effort into actually doing so. I mean, I bought a guitar when I was younger, when I was in my teens, and I never got beyond probably a couple of weeks and gave up with it. I would love to be able to get to a point where I can play along, I can play some tunes, dare I say, have a shot at singing, just for my own entertainment. I mean, you know, yeah, it'd be absolutely excellent to be in a band. That would be fantastic. I mean, one of my mates, Andy, he's in a rock band. There's only 3 of them in it. I did kind of wind Andy up and say, once I'm good, I can join his band. He's like, yeah, that'd be good. That'd be awesome, but I don't think I'll ever get to that stage. I'd just love to be able to be semi-proficient at it and just be able to play some tunes. I mean, I was there on Wednesday. I'm still awful, but I can probably play about, I don't know, a dozen chords. I find the difficulty for me is swapping chords. When I move from one to the other, there's maybe a 1 or 2 second gap, and by that point the tune runs away with me and I just get completely lost. But yeah, just if I can hold a couple of tunes, play it semi-proficiently, Ian, I'll be a happy man. So anyway, listen, thanks for your question, Ian, I appreciate it. Panther UK, Chris, number 1, out of all the systems you use that have them, which would you say is the best of your favourite operating systems? Right, okay, that kind of rules. Well, operating system, do you mean like the PlayStation? I don't know. I mean, as far as operating, is that an operating system? Yeah, I suppose the PlayStation and the Xbox do have operating systems. Xbox One, I know it's not retro at all. I cannot for the life of me get to grips with that at all. I don't play it very often, but I've seen me spending 5-10 minutes just looking for something on it. It's a complete mess. The original Xbox 360 was great. I don't know why they've changed it to the mess that the Xbox is, the Xbox One. PlayStation 4 is very basic, but at least you can find what you're looking for. I'm assuming you're talking about computers there, Chris. I mean, it's a shameful admission, but when I had the Atari ST and the Commodore Amiga, I never really made much of an effort to learn how to program. I've never been into the sort of programming side of things. When I was saying that, when I had an Atari ST, I used to kind of dabble. I mean, I used to mess about with the basic. What else did I used to do? I'm just watching my dog doesn't move the tripod. Go and lie down, Archie. Good boy. I used to be able to find my way about is it the GEM, whatever it's called, graphic environment, I don't know what it's called, graphic environment, something or another. I used to be able to kind of navigate my way with Atari ST, but when I went to the Commodore Amiga, I just found it really complicated. And even now, I mean, but the only use I give these computers is getting a disc, putting it in, or ejecting a disc, or not even. I don't even do that now because I've got these kind of ST things underneath. But it's a hard one to answer, Chris. I would probably have to go for the Amiga. I mean, it's, you know, I do mess about with it sometimes, but it's a question that doesn't really kind of. It's not one that I can really answer because the use of these computers doesn't usually go beyond just playing games in it. So I've never really dabbled that much. I mean, as far as like the 8-bit computers, I mean, the Commodore 64, I never ever tried to program. I did do my O grade in computer studies, and I used the BBC. I used to quite like messing about with the BBC Basic. The black screen, the white text, it actually looked like a proper computer. Quite nice Basic as well. So probably the BBC for the 8 bits, and probably the Atari ST. I quite liked messing about with that. But anyway, Chris, thank you. Part 2 of your question is, if you could have 3 original arcade cabinets, what would they be? No surprises. I'd go for Robotron 2084 arcade. I think I would go for Galaxian and Rolling Thunder. Yep. And finally, who's your favourite band artist? Favourite album and song by them? Blimey. I think I've got a massively wide range in music. I mean, I was talking to somebody about this fairly recently. I mean, being a kind of kid of the 60s, I mean, I was only born in the late 60s, but I kind of grew up listening to like my mum and dad's music. You know, when I was growing up, there was always music in the house. You know, the Mamas and the Papas, Dean Martin, trying to think, John Denver, stuff like that. So I love all that kind of stuff. I can't say I'm a classical music person. Christy Barr, love him. Howard Jones. I like a lot of 80s music, Marillion. But probably my kind of, in the last probably 10, 20 years, I would say I've kind of aired towards rock music. Favourite group has got to be, I've seen them twice, I'd probably say AC/DC. I'm trying to think. Favourite song by AC/DC, I think it would have to be Touch Too Much. I love the opening, the sort of bass. It's an absolutely awesome song. I've got loads of groups that I love, but I think probably if I was being pushed, I would go for AC/DC. Yeah. So anyway, cool. Thank you, Chris. That's excellent. Right, I'm going to have a little refreshment while I read this one. Right, this is from, excuse me, David Lester Tom, sorry. Okay, question. You mentioned you're running a lot. I was a bit of a runner in my youth and ran a couple of marathons, but after an ankle injury, I let it lapse. Fast forward 20 years, and I replaced running with gaming. I got really fat and unhealthy. Gaming is sedentary by design, but there's a lot of interest in gaming foods such as Monster drinks, etc., which, as it happens, contributed to my gut. Now that I'm back to running again, excellent stuff, and looking at my diet with a view to being more healthy, my gaming time has fallen to almost nothing. So the question is gaming compatible with good health, or are the two mutually exclusive? I would say absolutely not, because I'm going to say successfully, I'm running like a bag of spanners at the moment, but that's got nothing to do with me not going out. I've been running most of my life, but seriously running, I've been running for about 5 years. I've been playing video games since I was 18, and in the last 2-3 years I've been doing a YouTube channel. So no, I mean, I'm quite pleased that I keep fit, because people, you say to people you play video games, they automatically think you overweight people or unhealthy, and I say, well, I also run marathons and whatever. So no, definitely you can absolutely do the two. It's a question of just getting the time and to do it. So yeah. For your information, 2 stone off my belly in 3.5 weeks. Yeah, I read that. Seriously, 2 stone in 3.5 weeks. That is incredible. What was that just for exercise? That is unbelievable, but really well done. Well done. If you scan through YouTube and take a critical look at the majority of gaming bloggers, they're mostly on the fat side. That's a sweeping statement, if ever I've heard one. Is the gaming lifestyle inherently bad for you unless you moderate your obsessions? I would think it is. I mean, obviously video games, basically sitting on your arse and drinking Monster drinks, which I would never ever touch. Though saying that, my daughter came home with a can of Monster drink a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, said to the wife, what's she got this for? So I had a taste of it, and it's basically Red Bull. I mean, you see people, young kids, walking along the street drinking. It's like a litre of this sugar. Ugh. But no, you can absolutely do both, definitely. But unfortunately, I mean, I think, running can be addictive as well. But video games, it's like anything in life, everything in moderation. If you go over the top with something, then it's not good for you. And that'd be even the same with running. If you're just running non-stop or playing football, whatever, golf, you hear the golf widows going to the football, any of these things at all, as long as it's done in moderation, I would say. But no, absolutely, you can absolutely run and game, because I manage it. Excuse me, and I work like most people as well. So anyway, David, thanks for your question, mate, and well done on the weight loss, and I'm look forward to hearing your progress on the running as well. Right, Marco, my good mate Marco, Lactobacillus Prime. Question number 1: have you dabbled in Wii U and Wii emulation? I've tried it, Mark. I've tried it. I did set up the Dolphin emulator for the GameCube, and it runs my new computer. I mean, I've had it for maybe 2 years now. It runs GameCube games really, really well. But I did try the Wii U and it wasn't great. Sorry, not the Wii U. I did try the Wii and it wasn't great. So I've not tried the Wii U. I just don't think that my computer's up to it. I've certainly seen your videos and I've seen a few other people playing it, and it does look amazing. If I had a computer that was powerful enough to run it, I probably would. But the problem I've got with these kind of games is I've got the original, I've got a Wii sitting there, I've got a Wii U downstairs. You've got to download the games and that kind of stuff, and they take up a shitload of space in the computer as well. I've got the original hardware, so I'd be as well just playing it on that. But no, I have tried it, Mark, it says, but it didn't run the Wii particularly well. So I didn't even bother wasting my time with the Wii U. Number 2, have you ever considered, what's that, building a Hackintosh? Is that one of these, is that where you take a Windows PC and it runs iOS, or not, whatever it's called, the Mac language? Simple answer is no. I've never had any inclination to own a Mac. I've never really seen any point in it myself. I mean, my daughter's got one. She got one for her Christmas and birthday. I've seen her using it, but that's as far as it's gone. But nah, not really. I mean, there's nothing on the Mac that I can't do on Windows, I think. So I've never had any real inclination to sort of try that. But I dare say, what to do, Mark, if there's a nice easy link to putting it on a normal Mac, on a normal laptop. I've got a laptop in there, it does nothing. Maybe give me a link, and I might give it a wee shot and see what I think. Number 3, what are your thoughts about Linux? Quick answer is, I have only ever used Linux. I used to have my own company repairing computers. It was a proper legitimate company, but I still worked during the day, and this was a kind of part-time thing. And the only Linux I ever used was Ubuntu. I used to use the disks to boot into it. So if somebody's computer wasn't working and they wanted it wiped and reinstall Windows, I used to boot up using Ubuntu, back up the files, and then wipe it and put Windows back on. But I can't say I've ever tried Linux. Never tried it, but I know. I mean, my mate Jamie, he swears by Linux. He's got his own computer repair business, and he will not touch Windows. He's a Linux man through and through. So yeah, I know it's really good, but it's not something I've really tried at all, Mark. What are your thoughts on the new arcade ports that have been coming out for the C64? Any suggestions of games that could receive a similar treatment? I've mentioned this before, Mark. I mean, some of the conversions that are coming out. I mean, the sort of rehash or the upgrade of Commando and Ghosts and Goblins are staggering. Is it Arcade? What's it called? Arcade Commando and Arcade Ghosts and Goblins. Brilliant. The Frogger one is just incredible. I know the Frogger's not particularly. It's not. I wouldn't say it's a game that would be difficult to really port. But if you watch my video that I made and I compared them side by side, the similarity between them is incredible. What game would I love to see I know there's a new port of Bomb Jack coming out. I'm not a big fan of Bomb Jack, I must admit. Arcade wise, what would I like to see on the C64? I'd like to see a good version of Year Kung Fu. I mean, the one that came out was nice, but the graphics are very, very blocky. I'd love to see Year Kung Fu. And maybe even a good Space Invaders. I've never ever seen a decent Space Invaders for the C64. I think about the best one I've actually seen was the one that came with, was it Arcade Classics by Firebird, I think it was, and you know, it wasn't good. So a good version of, in fact, a good version of Galaxian, Space Invaders, and the other one I mentioned, which I've completely forgotten about. So yeah, anyway, listen, Mark, thank you very much for your questions, sir. I do appreciate it. Acidonia 1503. A few questions. Can you think of any game that made you laugh? I can, with titles like Earthworm Jim and Yokai Watch series. I'm not familiar with that. Games that made me laugh. Well, a game that I rabbit on about every opportunity is Pipeline. I think it's, well, both Pipelines actually. There's Pipeline and Super Pipeline and Super Pipeline 2. They've got wee intermissions. When you complete a level, you get a little cartoon thing, and I just laugh every time I see it. I mean, I don't know how many times I've played the game over the last 30 odd years, but it's just brilliant. I always laugh when I play that. Anything else? Any other computer games that I laugh at? Excuse me. Can't think of any. I never really played any of these point and click Monkey Islands or anything like that at all. So I know they've got quite a good sense of humour. I can't remember, there was it Full Throttle, stuff like that. But yeah, the Super Pipeline games, they're brilliant. I've got a really good sense of humour in them. So top stuff. Number 2, do you wish big budget games would have more varied art styles like they used to, instead of just trying to look photorealistic? Big budget. Oh, you know what? I'm reading budget games, thinking, look, sorry, yeah, big budget games, yeah. Look photorealistic. I know what you're saying. Yeah, most of these games now for the Xbox One, PS4, PC, yeah, it's all about looking realistic. But one game that I've been talking about before is the Zelda Breath of Fire. What's it called? Anyway, the one for the Switch. It doesn't try to look realistic. It's just pure cartoon, and I think that's why it's so appealing, because it doesn't try to do that. It's got its own graphical style. Such a beautiful looking game. When I'm playing a game, I don't want to think that I'm in a real life situation. I want to know that I'm in a game and absorb myself in it and get into the atmosphere of the whole experience. So yeah, I know what you mean. Most games now, it's all about realism, photorealistic graphics and that kind of stuff. But yeah, the Zelda game is an amazing thing. So, it's a lot of these indie games which aren't big budget enough, they have their own graphical style. Although there is a bit too much of the sort of retro 8-bit view for my liking. They all try and make themselves look mega blocky. We don't buy expensive consoles to play blocky games. We can go and play that in the Commodore 64. So yeah, I know what you mean, but Zelda, that's bucked the trend. It's going for its own graphical style. Right, okay, moving on. My good mate Kev down the rabbit hole. Thank you, Kev. Excuse me, for the Friday Waffle. Hi, Alan. I'm going to test if I get sick from playing VR games by getting my hands on Google Cardboard. Hey, my aim is to try out the most vomit-inducing VR phone games to test my stomach. What titles would you recommend? I'll be honest with you, Kev. I'm probably not the man to ask. Go and speak to Mr. Bangkokian. Ian is the VR meister. What he doesn't know about VR games is not worth knowing about. Go and speak to Ian, Kev. The game that I've got for the what do you call it? The Samsung VR. Is it Dread Halls? It's called. It's a kind of horror game, and what a lot of the titles do, they move in sort of juddery, which kind of stops you being sick. But the ones that are super smooth, you feel I don't know, these are the ones that make me feel sick. I think it's Dread Halls it's called. I don't know if that's available in Google Cardboard, but go and speak to Ian. He will tell you what game to try. Either that or just Google it. I mean, I did have a Google Cardboard for a wee while, but there was a couple of titles, I can't remember what they were, that I found made me feel sick. So yeah, go and speak to Ian. I think he's probably your main man, I think, Kev. Secondly, was Apple II as major a computer over there in the UK back in the 80s as it was in North America? I don't hear too many Brits discussing the Apple II. The Apple II, that was the first computer I ever, or maybe the second computer. My English teacher, no, my modern studies teacher brought in a ZX81, I think it was, and we got to use it for 10 minutes. But when I started geography, the teacher had an Apple II, and it was the first computer I got to actually sit down and use. And it was what was the game we got to play? There was one called Lemonade Stand. It was basically you're in charge of a lemonade stall. You've got to buy the ingredients. You've got to decide how much sugar you put into it. Obviously, the more sugar you put into your lemonade, the more expensive it is. You need to decide how much you're going to make, how much you're going to sell it for, stuff like that. It's a kind of sort of educational game, but that was the very first computer I really got to use. But I don't really think it ever took off as a commercial, as a sort of home system, Kevin. I think probably down to the price. I mean, apart from seeing it in school, I don't recall ever seeing it anywhere. I mean, certainly none of the big shops ever stocked the Apple II. But I think you'd probably find it was the cost. I don't know what it cost in the UK, maybe £500, whereas the Spectrum was like 150 quid, the Commodore 64 was 200, so I think you'd probably find that the cost of it was far too prohibitive, and that's why it probably never actually sold as many and across here. I don't know if you're saying it's quite popular in America, but yeah, I never saw it. I never regarded it as a home system. I never knew anybody to actually own one. I say it's probably down to the cost actually. Finally, do you remember what it was like when Nintendo released the NES and suddenly we all had to swap our control schemes in our head? We went from joystick control with our right fingers, then attack with our left thumbs, to suddenly the other way around. Did you easily do an about face when you got your hands on the NES controller, or did you struggle a bit as I did? I still can't play Pac-Man with the bloody thing. Got to say, Kev, I've never played an NES. I have never ever played an NES. I've played the games on emulators, never ever played the NES. I remember the first time I got to play a gamepad was when I got my, what did I get? I got the SNES. I'd obviously gone from the C64 to the Atari ST to the Amiga to the PC, and then I still had my PC, but I bought the SNES, and it was a learning curve, but I don't recall it being particularly difficult. Yeah, obviously the joystick control is completely different for the gamepad, but the SNES gamepad is such a joy to use. I didn't have any real issues with it at all. But no, I'm ashamed to say I've never played an NES. Talking of which, I heard on the news today that apparently Nintendo are going to withdraw, they're going to cease making the NES Mini, because it was always going to be a limited run, which is disappointing, because I was actually going to buy one when they came down in price, because you can put all the games in it, you can kind of hack it. They still sell for daft money, and the fact that they're talking about stop making it, it just means that the price is going to go through the roof. So I don't see myself ever getting one, but a bit disappointed that they've decided to do that. There's no doubt going to be putting out games in the Switch, something like that. I think that's probably be what's going to happen. And so anyway, listen, Kev, thanks for the question, mate. And Mr. Batman, great waffle as ever. Nice tour around the games room. Couple of questions for you, sir. You like old school football games like Sensi Soccer. Have you played Active Soccer 2DX with PS4, which has clearly influenced it? If so, what are your thoughts on it? You know what, when I read the question, I thought, I've not actually heard of that game. I watched a video of it, and my first impression was it looked actually pretty good. I did check a few reviews and it's been absolutely canned. What they're saying is somebody described it as somebody's taken sensible soccer, made their own version, but they forgot to put playability, passion, and love into the game. They said it's marginally better than Kickoff, the new Kickoff, which isn't saying anything. So I'll probably, I don't know how much it is. I might have a look, but it does look quite nice. But I think this the new one, Sociable Soccer, I think it's definitely due this year. So I'll probably hang fire on it. Yeah. So anyway, cool. Excuse me. Right, part 2. What are your thoughts? Also, what are your thoughts in general about modern games, generally indie titles that are homages to 8 16-bit classics? I think I did touch on this. Somebody else mentioned this recently, where they remake sort of an 8-bit title for this modern. So let me just read this again. What are your thoughts about modern games that are homages? Alright, okay, I think what you're getting at, there's a game like, it's what I was talking about earlier on, a lot of these indie games, the games look like 8-bit games. Now there's one which I had a demo of, is it Shovel Knight, which looks like an NES title, it really does. And I played it for a wee while, and I've got to say, I thought it was really, really good fun. I mean, I'm a sucker for old systems, I really am. I love all these games to bits. But I would really prefer, I understand why they do it. They do it because there's a brand new audience that have never got to play these games before. But personally, I don't like these games, because I would rather play these games on the proper hardware and stick to new titles on the new consoles. I mean, I don't spend all that money on a PS4 to play a game that looks like a Spectrum game. I would rather get modern looking games for modern systems. But yeah, I'm not a massive fan. In my opinion, there's far too many of these kind of 8-bit looking ones. You know, you can only put up with so many anyway. And the last part from Bat is, what are your thoughts on playing emulated handheld games on TV screens? Handheld games, in other words, playing like a Game Boy and a big TV. It's good fun. I mean, you need to obviously understand that these games are written for tiny little screens. They were never designed to be played on 50-inch TVs, but it's a nice way to enjoy a game. It's one thing sitting with a handheld, sort of, straining your eyes trying to see the screen, but it's like I was saying earlier on, playing some of these games, the Game Boy games, the screen doesn't lend itself that well to some of them because of the screen blurring. So to be able to play these games in a super sharp big TV, you get to see just how nice it is, and you get to appreciate the game probably all the more. So yeah, it depends on the game, but I'm all for that, So anyway, thank you very much, Squire. That was excellent. And finishing things off, my mate Brian, Hardcore8 UK. You mentioned 1942, or was it 1943? That must have been, was it last week's waffle what I was talking about? I think it might have been. What do you think of Flying Shark arcade game? I've played it a few times, Brian. I've done an arcade perfect my arse in it. It's fiendishly difficult. I find the background tends to make it quite difficult. I'm sure the bullets from the enemies is very, very small, so it does make it quite hard to actually see what you're doing. It's not one of my favourites. I love vertical shoot 'em ups, but I can't say it's a particular favourite of mine. I think I just find the game a bit too hard, actually, if I'm honest. Right, part 2 of Brian's questions. What system do you own would you say has the most mods? And what system would you say has the most expensive mods? I'm not really. I mean, when you say mods, Brian, I tend not to mod hardware unless I would buy it already modded. I mean, what have I got? I've got a couple of on my SNES and my Mega Drive. I've got the 50-60 megahertz switch thing. I've got, I'm trying to think what else. I don't think I've got anything else mod. I've got like mod chips fitted to my PlayStation, Sega Saturn. I mean, I suppose, just trying to think. My Commodore 64, what have I got for that? I've got the, what's the Ultimate cartridge, Ultimate 2 cartridge. So that's not a mod as such, that's just a piece of hardware. I suppose my Atari 1200, yeah. Yeah, Atari 1200, well spotted. I think I actually mentioned it in I did post, I think, when I was looking at my games room last week. I did mention my Atari 1200, which would probably be super rare given it doesn't actually exist. But yeah, my Amiga 1200, what have I got in it? I've got a mini accelerator board thing which gives me, I think it's 64 mega memory, and I think it gives me, I don't know, is it 10 times the speed of a normal 1200. And I've also got the CF card thing underneath, which gives me all these unlimited games, which is fantastic. But yeah, do you have upgrades for your 1200? Well, I've just mentioned that. Yeah, so I've got the accelerator board. It's not one of the expensive ones. It was a kind of budget one that came out. Really, really good. So it's giving me extra memory, plus it makes it a bit quicker. And it suits me down to the ground, you know what I mean? Lastly, from Brian, it was great to see your collection and all the different systems you have. I notice you have all your retro collected to LCD. Would you ever consider using a high-end CRT like a Sony PVM or BVM monitor? Now, I would love to have a CRT TV, Brian, because for obvious reasons, it's, you know, systems look much, much better on CRT than they do in LCD. But again, it's down to the lack of space in here. It's a tiny wee room, so the LCD is my only option. I do have a CRT TV upstairs in the loft, and I've also got my Commodore 64 monitor, not my Commodore 64, my Commodore monitor, which came with an Amiga I got, which is excellent. I do use that when I go to the computer club. I generally take these along, but for the purpose of me playing these games in here, it's got to be LCD, just down to the lack of room. Talking of CRT, just got a final pickup, which I've not actually tried it yet, and it is this thing. It's called a CLG SCART. Basically what you do is you plug one SCART cable in there from the console into there, then you plug another end in there into the LCD screen, and you can twist it using this little dial, and it apparently generates scan lines. So that arrived today. I'm going to, the only annoying thing is the power adapter that came with it doesn't actually fit. It's too small to fit inside this, so I'm going to have to try and get a hold of another one. But yeah, that's my solution, a CRT or a scan line piece of hardware. So listen guys, that is it. Thank you very, very much for all the questions as usual. Please keep them coming for next week. Welcome to all the new subscribers. The subscriber level seems to be going up and up, which is fantastic. Thanks for all the usual support. Please stick with me as usual. Please feel free to like, comment and subscribe. Have a wonderful weekend, and finally, thank you very much for watching.